Welcome to Toy Business Unboxed, your gateway to the secrets of the toy industry. Here, Jason Shea, a toy entrepreneur and expert in the field.
Every product we develop is really inspired by some of the real life experience that we have with our son.
60% of all toys last year were sold on Amazon, which is incredible.
Be passionate about it because it's a road, it's a journey.
Like when you have an idea that you think is like gonna somewhat like change the world, make things better, I'd say go for it.
We'll guide you through the enchanting world of toy design, marketing, and manufacturing. Now let the unboxing begin.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Toy Business Unboxed. Today, we'll be diving deep into crowdfunding within the toys and games space with Victor, co-founder of LaunchBoom, a powerhouse agency behind a lot of crowdfunding success. They have raised over $150 million over their career in crowdfunding. And Victor is not only just a game designer and marketer, he's also a father who understands how to make great play experience come to life. And he has worked with hundreds of creators to fine-tune their Kickstarter and Indiegogo strategy to help them launch and scale with confidence. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today, Victor.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I think this is a very big topic, and there's a lot of different things we'll be discussing. But first of all, I want to kind of, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your stories on how do you got into doing what you're doing, like right now with LaunchBoom and all the different marketing campaign that you guys run.
Yeah. So this is a long story. We'll dive right in. So honestly, when we first started, we were just a bunch of guys in college, like just straight out of college. We started a little digital marketing agency. I was making videos. My business partners were making websites and stuff like that. And we had a friend. I had a friend come up to us, and he was like, we were helping him like take pictures of fish and stuff. It was like, he's like, hey, I have this idea. This idea is like this little kit, this aquarium kit, and has a filter that uses plants to filter the water, so you never need to change the water out again.
Yeah.
And we're like, whoa, that sounds really cool. And he's like, hey, do you guys do Kickstarter stuff? And we're like, yeah, I backed a few Kickstarters. It's just, it was fairly fresh at the time, like fairly new. There weren't that many Kickstarters out there. Was a few big successes. And so it was getting a little bit more clout. And we're like, yeah, we could dive in and try.
What year was that?
This was like 2013.
Oh, wow.
Like 2012, 2013. He kind of came to us, I think, end of 2012, and we started this process, or maybe it's hard to figure out that timeline. So we went ahead, we did that, we made the video, we made the page, it did a few things there, and he raised like $70,000 for EcoCube. That was EcoCube. That was our first foray into Kickstarter and crowdfunding, and after that we helped another person out launch a $100,000 campaign on Indiegogo.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And we kept doing our own mixture of stuff. We were making videos, YouTube, like we were helping people run YouTube channels, we were making websites, we were doing like just like all the gamut of digital marketing. And it came to a point where we were like, wait, what do we actually want to do with this? We're not going anywhere as a business. This is not a business. Like we're just doing random jobs at this point. And so we went back and we thought, okay, let's find something that we can focus on. Let's find a way to systematize it so that we can continue to repeat that and get repeated results and be able to just really get good at one thing. And we reflect and we're like, okay, what was the thing that we enjoyed the most? Of all the things that we do, what is the one thing that we enjoyed the most? Who were the people that we enjoyed working with the most? And it came down to our crowdfunding clients. It was Kickstarter, Indiegogo. Those were the people that we loved working with. We loved working with new creators. They had so much passion in them. It fueled our passion. And then there was also something great about just seeing that number go up, seeing very tangible results. The work that we did brought tangible funds raised and changed people's lives. Like this friend of ours who was still in college when he launched, was able to create a whole new business, build that up, And actually he now works with us. So
Oh, really?
he exited and he now works with us.
I see.
But it was really cool because we got to see like these people really build these businesses, taking them from nothing to something that's amazing and changing their lives. And we love being a part of that. We're
Mm,
like, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and let's rebrand. Let's
mhm,
call ourselves LaunchBoom because we
mhm.
launched with the boom. Let's really dial in the system that we use to help these guys launch, and let's
Yeah.
really push this to be really good at it. So that's how we started diving into crowdfunding. And it started in the tech and design space. So like a
Mhm.
lot of tech products, a lot of
Yeah.
design products,
Mhm.
going into like apparel even, and just a bunch of different stuff. We
Yeah.
didn't really dive into games at that time, but
Yeah.
over the course, we eventually launched a few games, and then that started to pick up. We started as an agency, so we did everything for everyone.
Yeah.
That was really expensive. So this is like the
Mm.
second stage of our story. It's like, cool,
Yeah.
that's how we started. We were doing all this work, and we got to a place where we realized because we were making the video, we were running the marketing, we were doing the ads, we were doing all the messaging and really dialing in. It came to a place where we were either working with companies with a lot of funding. I'm like, why are
Yeah.
you doing crowdfunding at this point?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we're working with people that we love, but then they need to bet like their house on us. And we're
Mm.
like, that's a lot of risk for
Yeah.
all of us. It's
Yeah.
not, and it's just not, and essentially not a lot of people could afford us. It's like you
Mhm.
really had to put in a large investment in
Yeah.
order to have this full service agency. And so we decide to pivot and go into consulting. So
I
we're like,
see.
wait,
Okay.
we have a system, it works, it's very
Mhm.
repeatable,
Yeah.
and it's proven again and again, and we can walk you through that whole system, and we will show and we can work with you to make sure that not only is the system working for you, but also
Mhm.
we need to pivot. We can pivot if
Yeah.
there are some things that you have questions about. We can go and answer that, and we can walk you through that whole thing. And when
Mhm.
we did that, that's when we were able to make the program much more affordable, and was
Mhm.
able to start servicing game clients
Mhm.
because people that make games are definitely a lot like what we found are just a lot less funded,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
lot less initial amount of money,
Investment.
I guess,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah. Investment.
capital just sitting around, I guess, than say
Mhm.
something like a tech
Yeah.
product or something like that. It's just something that we found, and so because of that, we were able to dabble into games, and
Mhm.
with that, launch some really big successes like Botany, like Kelp,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
a few other ones.
And one more thing, I think your business model is very unique compared to because there's also other marketing agency in the crowdfunding space. Most of them will take a percentage of the for the fundraise, but your company currently do not take any percentage of the fundraise as well.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
can
good
you
point.
also talk about the decision that was behind that because that's very different than the rest of the industry. So,
Yeah, so we used to take a percentage as an agency. We did all the work, we took that
mhm,
percentage, and when we pivoted, we decided, let's not do that because it really hurts the creators. Or we found it doesn't leave a good taste in their mouth, and it's
mhm,
also something where it's like you just raised all this money so you can start your business, and now we're going to take a rip off of that, and
mhm,
just really and decrease your margins, which essentially like kind of kneecaps your ability to start the business and keep it going.
mhm,
So we decided, as a consulting service, we're just going to take one flat upfront fee and that's it. You're
mhm.
doing the work,
Yeah,
so you take home everything
yeah,
that you've kind of raised,
yeah.
and we're here to guide you. We're here to kind of show you how to fish,
Mm,
but you get to keep the fish. You get to eat the fish yourself in its
mm.
whole entirety.
I see. I see. Yeah, that's definitely very different than the rest of the other similar marketing company in the crowdfunding space. And I think there's more and more like marketing company popping up for the crowdfunding space as well. As there's more and more money to be raised on the crowdfunding. But I think because you have so many years of experience, one thing I guess I want to kind of go back a little bit and talk about as a game designer why do they even want to consider doing crowdfunding in the first place instead of like going through and just try to do the direct to consumer themselves?
Yeah. So this question actually bronze out to like just why crowdfunding.
Hmm.
with traditional means of starting a business that involves a physical product, you
Mhm.
do need a manufacturing order. You
Yeah.
can do it yourself. You can try to make it yourself. Okay, cool. Make 100 copies of this. Okay, cool. And then try to sell that.
Mhm.
You can go to a manufacturer and try to make it printed that way. Things
Yeah.
with manufacturers is yes, cheap per unit cost, but you do need a minimum order quantity, and
Mhm.
usually that costs quite a lot of money. Um,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
let's say you either situations, say you make it yourself or you buy 1,000 units, 1,500 units, whatever, from a manufacturer. Okay, cool. Now you have 1,000 units of
Mhm.
products sitting in your garage or sitting in a warehouse, which you're paying for on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
And where are your customers? Now you have to find your customers. Cool.
Yes.
Like, you need to
Yeah.
move that inventory or else
Yeah.
you're losing money. And you
Yeah.
just sunk in a bunch of investments into that to make that happen if you even have the ability to go and initially order that. So
Yeah.
crowdfunding does a few things. First, you find customers before you order your manufacturing order.
Yeah.
Second, those customers will then fund your ability to order that manufacturing order. So
Mm.
especially for a board game, a tabletop game, you want to like ordering that amount, like a good amount of board games is going to cost you a good amount of money. So if you
Mhm.
don't want to put in that, you don't want to put in that risk of an investment upfront to like order games before you know that people want that game.
Mhm.
Crowdfunding is a great way to go. The other
Mhm.
thing is you need to know what the market demand is. So
Yeah.
going into crowdfunding allows you to see, okay, I actually have customers. I can actually make this work.
Mhm. Mhm.
Other alternative means of publishing a board game would be going to a publisher. But the
Yeah.
thing there is, one, publishers take a pretty large rip. You pretty
Yeah.
much end up with nothing. A lot.
Mhm.
It's like signing away your game to someone else, and
Yeah.
they have every ability to change the game to whatever they want, whatever they think matches their audience better.
Yeah.
They also have the ability to just not sell your game at all. They bought the
That's
rights,
true.
and
That's
they
true.
have the rights, and then they're
Yeah.
like, you know what? We tried a few dollars here, and we're not seeing anything. We're just gonna shelve this.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's very possible that though you sold your game to a publisher, it never comes into existence. And so
Mhm.
crowdfunding takes that away, like
Mhm.
allows you to have that control for yourself.
Mhm.
And on top of that, if you crowdfunded, you now have more leverage for the publisher because you're showing
Mhm.
them market demand. You show that
Yeah.
you actually have customers that want this. You have an existing list of customers.
Yep.
You have your minimum order quantity as well that's been funded already. So there's lower
Mhm.
risk along all these sides. You have, and you can keep this going. And if you run marketing for it, cool. Now you have marketing assets that you can show to your publisher. Be like, hey, if you guys need help with distribution, like
Mhm.
there's a bunch of assets here that we know has driven demand,
Mm.
and driven real customers, real purchases.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All those things, that's leverage. And this applies for board games to publishers. This applies to tech products for investors.
Mm.
That's kind of the power of crowdfunding. You have the ability to fund your product before it's made, so that decreases risk. You have the
Yeah.
ability to measure market demand and get real customers before you get your product made, which decreases risk
Mm.
significantly more. And
Yeah.
all that decreased risk and proven demand gives
Mhm.
you a lot more leverage if you want to sell or get investors or find a
Mhm.
publisher or just continue to run this business yourself. It gives you that kickstart that you need to get a business rolling and actually make a living off of that.
For sure. And based on your years of experience, what are a few top things that every single entrepreneur should do before they even consider launching their own Kickstarter or crowdfunding campaigns?
Yeah. Oh, there's so many things.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest misconceptions with
Yeah.
Kickstarter, with crowdfunding, is you get your product,
Mhm.
you put it on the platform, and you're
Mhm.
like, all right, money comes.
That's not
Like,
what.
that's it. Like, there's a lot of people that still think that,
Yeah.
and the reality is that's just not the case
Yeah.
anymore. It
Mhm.
used to be. There's definitely a lot of examples of people that did that back when Kickstarter was fairly fresh.
Yeah.
Honestly, around like that 2012 time, like that happened when COVID hit. That sort of happened for a few board games as well. A few tabletop games had that effect where people just threw it on the platform. They got a few influencers to pick up on it, and then it just exploded. And so that did happen. And so that's where that misconception comes into play. But the reality is now, with so much competition in the space,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen. You can't just take a product, throw it on there, and just expect it to make money. You need to put in the effort to build your own list of potential backers. Usually, this is in the form of an email list or followers on your campaign. We do something that we feel is a little bit more predictable than either of those options, which is asking for a small deposit up front and then building that list up so that way you have strong certainty that when you launch, you get that first initial momentum. And so we want to make sure we do something called a pre-launch. You're doing a lot of marketing efforts before you launch so that people will know about you and know about your campaign before you launch. And so when you do click that button, there's this explosive momentum on that first day, in that first week. And then that will then pull you up onto the top rankings of Kickstarter so people can more easily discover you. And on top of that, if you decide to continue marketing during that campaign, you have a lot less stuff, like you have a lot less weight to lift, essentially, because that funded mark, that higher raise increases that conversion rate because there's a lot more trust involved now that there's proof that other people want this. It usually gets other people to feel safer to know that this is a decision that they feel comfortable making. It's just kind of a psychological thing where people that campaigns that are funded are more likely to get more funded.
Yeah, of course.
And so it just makes it a lot easier. So the biggest thing to make sure that you do before you go and launch a Kickstarter campaign is to do a pre-launch before your Kickstarter campaign. And if you need help with that, to reach out to a professional or like reach out to an expert about it, you can reach out to us. We've actually written a book. I should have it here. I'm not prepared.
You have a book about it, right?
Our CEO wrote a book called
Yes.
Crowdfunded. It is
Yes.
on Amazon. It is very affordable. We do not make money off of it because we charge whatever Amazon charges us to make it, which is about $8.
Yeah.
And if you want the digital version, I think it's $1. Or there should be a way for you to get it for free if you just reach out to us. But yeah, we want to just give out that information. We also have a blog, and there's plenty of other blogs out there. Stonemaier has a blog. Stonemaier is a publisher. They made Scythe. They also made Wingspan, or they published Wingspan. They have a great blog. Another one. There's plenty of other podcasts and blogs out there that can educate you about it if you just need some help there. And of course, you can just reach out to us. Read Crowdfunded. We spill all the secrets there. And reach out to us if you have more questions or if you want like some more actual like one-on-one help and stuff like
Of course, but for those of the listener and also viewer that haven't read the book, like in a nutshell, can you kind of explain like your unique processes, just on the high level, because I think one thing that's very unique when we talk before the interview today is you have a very unique way of predicting the campaign success before the campaign is launched, which is I have talked to a lot of people in the industry. Not a lot of people have that kind of expertise. Can you kind of explain like just on a high level how that whole process works?
Yeah. So one of the challenges we ran into when we first started doing crowdfunding was predicting the conversion rates of the email list that we would collect. So we would do the pre-launch. We knew that a pre-launch was key to success. This is something that we knew from the very beginning. We saw other campaigns, like how did this campaign do so much better than all these other ones? And it came down to the pre-launch. So we knew we had to focus there. And in the beginning, we did what everyone else did. We created a landing page. We knew how to do that. We ran Facebook, Instagram ads. It was awesome back then. It's still good. We still do the same. And we would run them there, collect their emails. Cool. Build a huge email list. Try to get your CPL, cost per lead, cost per email, down as low as we can. And then just scale, get a buttload of emails. click that launch button, and boom, right? Issue is, we found very quickly, emails are super volatile. We've
Yeah.
had some campaigns with like a 10%, even like a 15% conversion rate on
Mm,
emails, which is
yeah.
crazy good. You're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And then we saw a huge success there, and we're like, okay, cool, this is repeatable. And then we had a lot of clients collect the same amount of emails, spend like $10,000 on collecting emails,
Mhm.
and nothing.
Mhm.
1%,
Yeah.
0%, like
Mhm.
conversion rates. And especially with that 0%, when you have that huge volatility, it's just not good. Like
Yeah.
I don't we do not want to be telling clients to spend money on this great ad to collect and just spend to have it amount to negative ROAS for you to just
Mm,
get a return of like nothing.
yeah.
And basically say all that money you just spent is now dead. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's disappeared. We did not want to do that. We were a performance-based, data-based agency. We want to make our decisions off of data. And we want to
Mhm.
make sure that we had predictable results, something that we can actually deliver on what we promised our clients.
Mhm.
And so we started to brainstorm about ideas on how to qualify that email, how to
Mm,
make sure that the emails that we're collecting are quality emails, are people that are actually willing to purchase and back when you do click that when you do launch.
mm.
And at this time, one of our editors actually found was like we're all backing Kickstarters at this point.
Yeah.
She got an ad and put down her email and then received this thing where it's like, hey, put down this dollar to kind of reserve your spot.
Mhm.
And we're like, this is a genius idea. I know a lot of people think they're like, oh, LaunchBoom came up with the idea. It's like, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I don't even remember which campaign it was, but someone else came up with the idea, and we looked at that and we're like, we need it. That's genius. That's a great way to qualify purchase intent
Mhm.
because it's not a big ask. It's $1.
Yeah.
Um, but it does mean that you need to take out your credit card and
Mhm.
be willing to pay for something,
Yeah.
even if it's just a small little transaction.
Yeah.
And this is something that, I mean, it works. It's just so we tried it out. We're like, okay, let's just test this out. And
Mhm.
when we tested it out, we saw much more predictable conversion rates.
Mm.
Um, it depends on the price of the product, but typically it would be between like 35 to 45% is what we usually predict, put at a conservative level, but we've seen conversion rates up to 55%
Mm.
for
Okay.
people that put down that dollar. And
Mhm.
so we saw that it was very consistent. We saw the correlations with price point and stuff like that, depending on the product. And we just kept doing it. And with that, our predictive analytics became extremely accurate, where
Mm.
we could basically tell from running pre-launch ads whether or not this campaign is something that we should keep, like this campaign or this ad was something we should continue to pour money into to
Mm.
scale because it's
Yeah.
predicting this kind of return on ad spend, or it's something that we need to optimize and scale back or kill. And
Mhm.
with that, that just gives us the ability to spend with confidence. And when
Mhm.
you're able to do that and develop a list where it has a strong predictability, a predictable conversion rate, and predictable amount of funds raised, well, that allows you to basically say this pre-launch ad is going to get you this kind of ROAS. This kind of
Mhm.
pre-launch ad is going to get you this kind of ROAS. ROAS, return on ad spend, for anyone that doesn't know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Basically, how much money will you get back for the money that you're spending on marketing? What
Mm.
multiplier are you getting? And with that, we are now able to launch successful campaigns one after the other, be able to advise clients to really talk about their business goals about that. It's like, okay, what is your goal for this campaign? What
Yeah.
is that margin that you are working with?
Yeah.
And are we achieving that or are we not? Do we need to pivot or can we scale? And if we're
Mhm.
scaling, cool, how much do we want to scale that you're
Yeah.
comfortable with? And when we launch, we know how much you're generally they're going to raise
Mhm.
on those first few days, and then from there you can keep moving forward.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very unique process that you guys are currently doing, and based on the data and based on the analytic that you have analyzed. And I think that's also a lot of people that have tried to done crowdfunding campaign themselves before that they struggle with. It's like I don't know how well it's going to go, and like how do we do all the preparation before as well. And besides pay ads, it sounds like that's one of the like a pivotal strategy that you work with the creators. Any other like strategy that you also suggest them to do? Of course, there's pay ads, there's emails. Any other marketing strategy you also help them with?
So we actually primarily focused on paid ads
Okay.
because it is scalable, it's very measurable,
Okay.
and you could do it really quickly. You don't need to build it over time. And
Yeah.
then with this methodology where we're able to measure the purchase intent of the person putting down an email, we are able to predict, what this return on ad spend is, and so scale with confidence.
Mm.
That said, if someone wants to do organic mediums or even do influencer stuff, you could send them a link to your landing page, track that. We have a whole like web app essentially that allows you to not just build a landing page, but track all these things, build custom tracking links. And so you could track, okay, how many leads is this particular strategy bringing in for you? How many reservations are you getting? What's that purchase intent of the leads that you're driving in? And then that can help you actually determine whether or not this is a channel that you want to continue to invest in. And so
Mm.
we've had clients that got viral.
Okay.
An influencer picked them up, they went viral, and then we were able to track, okay, this is actually driving a lot of
Mhm.
purchase intent for you, a lot
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
reservations. And then that actually paired really well with their paid ads, because their paid ads weren't doing very well until those paid ads, like how they got viral was an influencer actually got one of those ads, thought it was hilarious, and then posted about it. And then that
Okay.
got them really
Yeah.
popular, and that got
Yeah.
reposted and reposted and reposted.
Yeah. It kind of
And
amplified.
then
Yeah. Okay.
now that they're running ads, people are like, "Oh, I know about that." And so their
Mhm.
ads improved drastically to get them more reservations, and was able and kind of like had multiple channels. And so
Mm.
you could do that. Just understand that the whole idea here is not about any one channel being superior to the other. It's about
Mhm.
being able to track the results of that channel to see
Mhm. Mhm.
really how successful is this channel, how much measurable how what are the metrics of it? What's the measurable like intent out of it,
Mhm.
or results out of it? If
Mhm.
like if you're going for influencers, like make sure that you know how to measure the impact of them. If
Mhm.
you're going for organic, make sure you know how to measure the impact of it. And one of
Yeah.
the biggest mistakes that people fall for both of them is they fall for vanity metrics. Vanity
Mm.
metrics are basically metrics that make it sound good, but don't
Yeah.
actually mean anything for your business,
Mhm.
for sales. So it's
Mhm.
likes, it's views. Cool. I got like 10,000 views on this video. Great.
Doesn't mean anything.
How
Yeah.
many of those 10,000 views equal sales? And
Yeah.
so with this, like if you go that way, just make sure you have a way to track what kind of results are getting you for. And if you're in pre-launch, make sure you have a way to track that purchase intent, or at least
Mhm.
some sort of ability to predict your return on that investment,
Mhm.
whether it's an investment in time or money. Um,
Mhm.
and that's honestly that's why we like paid traffic, because it's just so easy to measure. Whereas the
Mhm.
other ones are just a little bit more
What
difficult.
would be the budget you recommend for the entrepreneur that's thinking about doing this? How much budget should they set aside just for on the pay ads of on the ad budget?
Yeah. Okay. So budget is a interesting question, because what we usually recommend is you set aside what we call a testing budget.
Mhm.
We recommend doing what we usually recommend is about like $1,500 to $2,000 for
Mhm.
testing.
Yeah.
You don't always spend that much to know whether or not you need a pivot or not.
Yeah.
You could be less than that, but that's generally the amount of budget we will recommend to just understand what is the demand for your product,
Mm.
what is the demand in the way that it's currently positioned with messaging and with the ads that
Mhm.
you have for it, and do we need a pivot? Do we need to change the creative? Do we need to change the positioning?
Mhm.
Do we need to kind of change up how your product is, yeah, either positioned or even like what it delivers?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the start. From there comes the scale. And when
Mm.
it comes down to budgets for marketing, You have to understand that marketing is meant to be a multiplier.
Hmm.
So you can't be expecting to raise $1 million by spending $10,000
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's like, I don't think even cryptocurrency can do that. So like that's kind of an insane amount of return.
Yeah.
You have to think about it as an investment and as a multiplier. If you have a smaller budget, that's absolutely fine. Just expect a smaller raise,
Hmm.
because you're expecting a multiplication of that.
Yeah.
You have but the ability to pull in more spend, that's great. Let's see what that multiplier is first. So we're
Mhm.
going to test, we're going to see what that multiplier is. We're going to increase spend and see if that stays that way. And if it lowers, which can happen, cool. Are you still okay with that? Do you want to keep spending, or do you just kind of want to keep it consistent here?
Mhm.
So it is a moving target. I
Yeah.
would not say put this much money or put this much money. It's really up to what you're comfortable with, and just understand that it is supposed to be a multiplier. It's not
Yeah.
supposed to be a fixed thing. And you need to carry that mindset not just for crowdfunding, but into your business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you
Of course.
can't think about marketing budget as this fixed cost thing. It scales with your business because
Yeah. It's a
that is what
multiplier. Yeah.
fuels. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a multiplier. It's what fuels you.
Mm.
It's what gets things continue to move and multiply and grow.
Yeah, that's a thank you. Very well put, and that's a very good explanation. The other question I want to ask, of course, based on your experience, like running and funding so many successful campaign, how would I mean, the people that have been working with that have already raised successful fund, how do they transition to other channel like Amazon, for example? Like based on your experience, like what are some of the things they should consider? And of course, that's something we kind of specialize on toy launch, but I
Yeah.
want to kind of hear from your perspective, working with so many different brands.
Yeah. So after a Kickstarter campaign or whatever crowdfunding platform you use, GameFound, BackerKit, Indiegogo, whatever, you get your funds, and you now need to get your stuff made.
Yes, yeah.
There is something that's in this interim period called late pledge. I'm not going to dive too deep into it, but
Mm.
essentially, you continue to take pre-orders while you're making your product.
Yeah.
When you finally get inventory in place, you have multiple options. You can, like, you deliver to the people that you promised to your backers.
Mhm.
You could go to different distribution hubs. Like, just talking strictly about tabletop games, you can go to
Yeah.
distributors who will then go and buy a set amount of games at
Mhm.
like a like a major discount because they need to keep their margins. They
Yeah.
will sell it to local game stores. They might, if they have Amazon as a channel, they might throw it on Amazon, whatever. You could do that. You can also do, like, run your own e-commerce store, like Shopify. Start a Shopify store, start doing that. With Shopify, most of that traffic will be driven through paid traffic often.
Yeah. Mhm.
Or if you have organic clouts, or like you're posting stuff on TikTok or like Insta or something like that, you can also drive them to your Shopify site that way.
Mhm.
Very similar to crowdfunding, just make sure you track your
Mhm.
sales that way. And then there's always Amazon. So you can go on Amazon, you can start your own thing. Amazon has a lot of tricky stuff to it. It's very
Yeah.
nuanced.
Yes.
From my understanding, it's nuanced. I'm not experienced with it. Talk
Yeah.
with Jason.
Yeah.
That's what he's good at.
Yeah.
But you can do that. And the thing here is, people are like, oh, do I choose one or the other? It's like, well, you could just do all of them. Do all of
Mm.
them at the same time. The biggest thing here is, like, you gotta make sure you stay on top of your inventory.
Mhm.
You stay on top of that, and every single thing you do here is work in some regard. So it's not as,
Mm.
like, yes, it could be essentially passive if you have it all, like, working for you, but it is going to take a lot of upfront work, whether it's making your Shopify site, getting Amazon set up, just getting relationships built up with distributors. But essentially, if you want to run your own business this way, you have three very clear channels that you can run, and they all support each other. You
Mhm.
go through a distributor that doesn't do Amazon because you're running your own Amazon, or you're running it with Jason. Um, like, that distributor sends it to game stores. People go to the game store, they see the game, and then maybe they'll go up and on their phone and then search it
Yeah.
on Amazon. And
Mhm.
cool, that's another channel. It's like, or people see on Amazon, there's a lot of reviews there. It looks legit, and then maybe they see an ad on Insta or something like that, and they
Mhm.
go to your Shopify store, or they go
Mhm.
to your Shopify store and they check Amazon, and then maybe they do both of those and they go to the game store. Like, I've seen this game, and they buy it there. In
Mhm.
all other situations, you're still getting that sale. And it's
Mhm.
good to have kind of all of that spread, because having that spread just means more people seeing your game, getting to know about your brand, and increasing your chances of getting that sale. But
Mhm.
yeah, so then that transition, like, I mean, it can happen immediately once you get inventory. You can start
Mhm.
working on it as you're getting inventory. Alternatively, you could just try to sell yourself to, like, sell your game to a publisher if you just don't want to take care of that.
Mhm.
Again, you lose a big rip.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
really, how much do you want to take home, and how much work are you willing to do to take
Mhm.
home that amount?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, thank you for the breakdown of all the different paths the creator
Mhm.
can do after the crowdfunding campaign. And as well, kind of wrapping up today's interview, what would be your one piece of advice that you give to someone that is about to launch their first crowdfunding campaign that they have never done it in the past?
Yeah. Don't rush the launch.
Mhm.
Spend time in pre-launch. Reach out to us if you, yeah, reach out to us just to start a conversation, just to see if there's anything that you're missing.
Mhm.
But number one mistake that we see people make is they rush the launch. They launch before they're ready, before
Mm.
they have enough followers or
Yeah,
emails or VIPs or whatever. If you rush a launch and you launch before you're ready and you don't have that launch boom effect, it becomes a lot more difficult for you to get funded, for you
yeah,
to have a larger raise, or even to have any source, like, have a successful campaign at all.
yeah, and probably you won't even hit the goal, the funding goal as
Yeah,
well.
that's
Yeah.
like the biggest thing is
Mhm.
if you launch before you're ready, and you don't get funded, it's very unlikely that you will get funded. Like, it's
Yeah.
likely just going to fail.
And I have a follow-up question on that. Based on your experience, I think you say it's about like 2 months or 3 months ahead of time they should start getting ready before the official launch. Is that pretty accurate based on your experience?
Honestly, if you want to talk with us, try
Mhm.
to talk to us like 6 months before your
6 months.
planned
Okay. Okay.
launch.
Okay. Got it.
Minimum 4 months.
Minimum four
Because
months.
the reality is that it is going to take like about a month to set up and then test,
Mhm.
and then 2 to 3 months to scale. If you try
Mm.
to rush that, we can try to see if we can rush it, but you are going to trade in your
Mhm.
performance and your
Mhm.
volume for that. And what I mean by
Mhm.
that is you're going to trade in your return, that
Yeah.
multiplier that we've been talking about,
Mhm.
and you're going to trade in the total amount of funds that you potentially could have raised,
Yeah.
in order to speed up that timeline.
Yeah.
So
That timeline. Yeah.
you kind of see it as like you have volume, that's like amount total raised, you have performance, that's like
Mhm.
the multiplier, and you have time. You choose
Mhm.
two.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
choose time, sometimes you lose both of these.
You
If you
don't
try
rush
to
it.
speed
Yeah.
it up too much.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing that you have to really keep in mind. Don't
Mhm.
rush the pre-launch.
Rush.
Don't rush the campaign.
Okay, that's a very important piece of advice. So, and for our listener and viewer, where is the best place for people to find more information about you and your company?
Yeah, go to launchboom.com and / games if you are a game. So if you have a game company, launchboom.com / games.
Hmm.
Um, I will also send a link. We'll get a
Hmm.
link out so then that way it's like you can just click it.
Sure, I will
And
include
hopefully
that.
we can post it in the
Sure,
description or something,
sure, sure.
wherever.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, launchboom.com, reach out to us. If you want to like know what our book is, it's called Crowdfunded.
Mhm.
Go on Amazon, just find it there as well.
Okay, thank you so much for all the resources and all the wonderful knowledge you have shared. And that's actually definitely an industry I would like to learn a little bit more on myself, since that's not something we specialize in. And that's something your team definitely have tons and tons of experience over. So thank you again for being on the show. And for our listener, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Toy Business Unboxed podcast. We hope you have enjoyed today's conversation and find it insightful and inspiring. If you like what you have heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. We really appreciate your support and would love it if you can leave us a review and share the podcast with your friend and colleague. For more resource, tips, and the latest update within the toys and game industry, visit our website at toy-launch.com and join the conversation and connect with us on social media using hashtag Toy Business Unboxed. We'd love to hear your feedback and suggestion for future episode. Until next time, keep innovating, keep creating, keep bringing joys to toys. This is Jason Shea signing off on the Toy Business Unboxed podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.